welcome to Talking Tropes,
where we're going to take you on a trope down memory lane.
I'm David.
And I'm Hannah.
And this is the podcast where we talk about all the different tropes and cliches of writing in movies and TV. Today we're recording on December 21st, 2017, which happens to be the 80th anniversary of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And so today we're going to be talking about one of Disney's most famous tropes, which is animal and non-human sidekicks.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this conversation because I feel like...
It's very personal. It's a personal topic.
Well, I feel like also we're on very different sides of this particular argument.
All right. Well, why don't we start with, who our favorites are? What's your favorite Disney sidekick?
I think this is going to make you really mad.
Okay.
I think it's Mushu.
Mushu! Mushu bothers me in a number of ways.
I believe so because in our show notes folder, you have tentatively titled this episode, "Does Mushu ruin Mulan?"
Yeah, we just wanted to, maybe get some people in with a clickbaity title. And I would say yes. Unequivocally, no. In some ways, I think that Mushu diminishes Mulan as an effective story, and that he could have been utilized better. He's not the worst Disney sidekick. I won't go into who that is right now.
Yeah, wow. That'll be a fun thing, I think, to discover along the way, who we think is the worst Disney sidekick.
Right, for sure. My favorite, which I think you might disagree with, is Turk from Tarzan, who I would consider to be a Disney sidekick.
Sure. Yeah, okay. Well, so let's talk about Turk for a second.
Okay, yeah, let's do it. I like Turk for sure because I think Rosie O'Donnell is actually really funny. And this is one of the few comic relief character sidekicks with a celebrity voice that I actually think adds to the story. Because, Turk is a legitimate close friend to Tarzan, and we see their relationship develop and change over the course of the story. We see them become friends after being sort of a bully victim relationship, and then in the end we have and then over the course we have Turk dressing up dressing up like Jane at one point as part of a trick, and then there's all this other nonsense, and then in the end you kind of find that Turk and Tarzan, they're gonna stay together, they're gonna stay friends, and they and they're just such a great pair of buds.
For sure. I think I would not argue with the fact that they're best friends. I think what might help us with this definition a little bit is to go back to the first Disney movie, Snow White, the anniversary of which is today, as the day we're recording, not the day this is airing. And sort of look at how animal sidekicks were used in that.
Right. I mean, because here's the thing. In Snow White, they're not really animal sidekicks. It's more like Snow White has, the mutant power to control all nature.
She's the Aquaman of the forest.
She might be an X-Man. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I mean, Disney owns that now, so.
Right.
Who knows?
And then, for sure, the villain, the evil queen, has a couple sidekicks, which are an evil bird, evil raven with no name, because villains just have ravens in the Disney universe. I don't know what that is. And, of course, the magic mirror.
Same with Maleficent.
Yeah, Maleficent also had an evil raven named Diablo, because Maleficent is the best villain. I don't think that there's a lot of, contention on that. She's just...
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like Ursula might give her some decent run for her money.
But Ursula is just Maleficent, like remade, you know. Maleficent is the prime evil sorceress, you know, and the mistress of all evil, you know. She invented Disney villainy.
Yeah, but did Ursula perfect it? All right, no.
not what this podcast is about. But yeah, Snow White definitely has animals that are sidekicky, but they don't have that sort of marketable toy quality that the modern ones do. But then you go on to like Sleeping Beauty, and that's when you get your first horse.
The first horse.
Does that horse have a name? I don't remember the name of that horse.
Oh, he does have a horse. The prince calls it out. I do forget it though.
But that horse is very interesting to me because he sort of forms the basis of all of the future horses, right? Yeah,
and I think like for all animation horses, like not just Disney, because this horse is like sassy and has a personality and like an attitude.
And his name is Samson.
Samson, there you go.
Which is pretty chic. And I think like the idea for having a horse with personality it's kind of like Kit from Knight Rider, you know? We have a tendency to sort of personify our modes of transportation a little bit.
Well, and horses are like actual thinking creatures too.
Well, I mean, of course, horses are actual thinking creatures, but I think we tend to have our modes of transportation. We kind of treat them like people for some reason, not just like horses. We treat them like human beings, and like I think you can carry that over to like Kit from Knight Rider, or even like the TARDIS from Doctor Who is like it's a vehicle that is personified. I don't know. Maybe I'm over intellectualizing just that Disney likes cute talking horses.
Yeah, I think. Here's the thing. I think horses are, especially since a lot of these movies are set in the past, and horses are sort of the main mode of transportation. Like, there were just bound to be a lot of them, and so you kind of wanted to make the
capitalize.
Ones... Right, like any character you're going to spend kind of a decent amount of time with, you want to make them somewhat memorable.
Right. But I mean, like, you know, there was a horse that was ridden on in Snow White, and that it had no character whatsoever.
That's true.
You know, the prince rides in on a horse, and it's a vehicle and nothing more. But at some point, you know, before they made Sleeping Beauty, they were like, all right, sidekicks. Characters need sidekicks. And that's, I think, when this really started.
But, like, is that movie funny?
No.
Yeah, exactly.
But it is trying to be. I mean, the comic relief in that movie are the dwarves.
But right, so that movie's not funny necessarily.
No.
But I found Sleeping Beauty...
Cinderella's trying to be funny.
Cinderella for sure has some funny moments. But I think it starts with Sleeping Beauty. Like, Sleeping Beauty has some, like, funny moments. Which is why I'm glad that I rewatched it, because I definitely enjoyed it more now as an adult. Also, it's a short movie. It's not even 90 minutes.
Yeah, that was a big thing when animation was a lot more expensive and experimental. Movies were shorter. But they're still pretty short. I mean... Everything today like is under 2 hours. I think the longest one is like an hour and 47 minutes.
Well, because it's a lot to ask a child to sit through 2 hours of movie.
Yeah, I think a scientist. I don't know. Somebody just told me this. I don't have any sources on this, but apparently someone at Disney corporate discovered that is precisely how long a child can hold its pee. So that's how you do it.
So if they pee before, you know, I wouldn't put it past those Disney scientists.
Right. Those Disney scientists. Yeah. But like a lot of the major classic Disney movies had sort of sidekicks. You have like Pinocchio and Jiminy Cricket.
Which I think we would count as an animal sidekick. Like I think...
Yeah, for sure.
He's maybe the first animal sidekick that talked.
Yes.
Which I think... Yeah. Especially if we're going to work our way up to Mushu, I think that's important.
Yeah, these are you know, conscience characters. They are you know, alter egos. They reflect our characters', you know, psyche.
Yes, and I think one interesting note too about Jiminy, in relationship to Mushu, is the fact that he's sort of the prototype. Like he's the
a little bit
the the trope standard, so to speak.
I think it's also, somewhat important that I believe Jiminy Cricket was actually in the book, right? He was not inserted, but his presence made an impact on, whatever corporate executive.
Was Jiminy Cricket in the original tale?
Yeah, there was a talking cricket in the book, but I don't know if he was called Jiminy. Jiminy is kind of a, Americanized thing. I think Cinderella also, was pretty integral in defining what we now know as Disney sidekicks. You got Jacques and Gus.
All right. Oh, good old Gus.
I was bothered by them. But, these are basically the same as Snow White's animal friends who she just controls with her mind. But in this one, they talk and have personality.
There's some pleases and thank yous. Like, I wouldn't say Cinderella controls these animals. They certainly
Listen, if you're going to control someone with your mind, you should at least say please and thank you, just as a courtesy. But, I mean, clearly, I don't think that Snow White really needed to, explain what to do. She was controlling these animals with her mind. She didn't explain to the animals what sweeping was. They just kind of did it.
Right, but with Cinderella, you can sort of assume that they've had this relationship for a while and they've decided to help
Cinderella,
her.
they're characters. There wasn't any mind control going on here. That's what I'm saying. This is the difference between Snow White and Cinderella. Cinderella is a kind person who mice that are already wearing clothes just sort of are attracted to.
Yeah, she also made them clothes.
Oh, she made them the clothes. I thought that they just had clothes.
No, I think she made it for them.
That makes a lot more sense. Cinderella also has another villain sidekick in the evil cat.
Yes.
Cats are evil and birds are evil. Remember that.
Mice are always good.
And horses are neutral.
Horses can be evil, but they can also be good.
There's only one villain horse that I know of that's actually got a name and, a personality, and that's from The Hunchback of Notre Dame, one of my favorite Disney movies. Claude Frollo, the villain, has a horse named Snowball, who is jet black. The fact that it's named Snowball is never mentioned in the movie because it would be a little bit, silly. But I just think it's great that you have, this evil horse and there's a good horse in the same movie. The good horse in that one is Achilles, which is Phoebus's horse, who has some slapstick moments and some personality. But yeah, so horses are neutral, birds are evil. There's one more bird I think that we haven't mentioned, right?
Evil bird?
Oh, no, there's two more birds. There's Iago from
evil
Aladdin.
Bird.
And there's the bad horse, or the bad bird from... There's the bad bird from Mulan.
Yes, the evil falcon.
A hawk named Hayabusa, named after the possessed demon sword.
Didn't I even know it had a name.
Yeah, most of these you just find on Wikipedia. And that's what its name is. The cricket from Mulan, its name is Cricky, with a hyphen in the middle of Cri and Ki.
All right, there you go. The more you know.
So do you want to talk about Mulan right now? Is this seamless transition?
Now that you've called attention to it, absolutely.
Right. So let's talk about Mushu.
All right.
What do you like about Mushu? What do you think?
Mushu. I think he's an interesting character because I think he's the anti Jiminy Cricket.
Right. Because he has he's always the voice of not reason.
Well, not even necessarily. He does have some helpful suggestions sometimes, and but he's so self-motivated. He's trying to help Mulan, but not because he actually cares about Mulan, but at least at first.
Okay, you say at least at first, but the one scene where we actually get to see him, reflect on his actions, I don't feel like he has actually learned anything. The I guess what I would say the contradiction of Mushu is that you need a helper character for Mulan to sort of help her become who she is, but you don't want to take away any of her agency. So you have this character there that is serving the same role as Jiminy Cricket, providing helpful hints and, trying to keep them on the straight and narrow, but he has to give her all bad advice so that she can come to the correct conclusions by herself.
But I think that's fine. I think that serves like an important narrative purpose. Like, I don't
know.
I think it builds Mulan's character that, like, even despite he does help her out a few times. Like when all the guys come in, she's swimming. Like he scares them off for her. And
this is my thing: is I feel like the writers kind of artificially inserted some things that for him to do that I feel like you could just write him out and it wouldn't affect the plot at all.
But I think he adds a lot of humor and fun because, like, that's I think an important, like, I don't want to downplay.
But is this a movie that's really lacking in humor and fun? I mean, you have 3 comic relief soldiers who are, like, the only soldiers.
Yeah, but, like, they still have to do war things. Like, Mushu gets to be independent of war things, and like,
but even during the war things, the 3 soldiers are still goofing around. They fire an arrow we fire an arrow with a rope. This is my Harvey Firestein. You fire a rope and then oops, we dropped the rope. Whoa. Like, they're still doing comedy stuff, but then you've also got Mushu there just sort of existing.
I don't know. I think
being Eddie Murphy.
I think he adds a lot of humor and levity to the movie because, Mulan isn't always with the soldiers.
I just think, I don't know. I've read think pieces, and I sort of agree with them that have said, Mulan is not a complicated story. It's very simple.
Sure.
And it's about a woman becoming a soldier and a war hero because she wants to. And I think that the idea of giving her like a helper rather than like a companion is just like antithetical. And the fact that it's like a magical companion is weird because Mulan is a decidedly non-mystical story. So, okay, disclaimer, Mushu does not ruin Mulan, but
I don't know. I
think he drags it down a little. I mean, let me just run through, like, there was a couple of plot points that I feel like he could just totally be written out of.
Okay.
So, there's one bit where, like, to make him useful during the war scene, like, Mulan lights a match, and then the match goes out, and then she uses Mushu as a match lighter for a cannon. And it's like, well, just don't have the match go out.
Well, okay, but the whole point of the match going out was to show that, yes, this is a dumb, reckless idea that she's doing, even though it's like we see her point, but like, look, here's all the things that could go wrong with it. And, like, also it builds tension up until the very last moment. It's like she's almost there, but then, oh no, the match goes out. Now what does she do?
Light another match. I don't know. Just, like, you don't need Mushu for this. He's not relevant. Same thing with, like, lighting the fireworks at the end. He's basically just like a match.
I guess.
He's a human dragon match.
I guess. I don't know, but I think, like, it also, especially... I always have to say, like, think of watching this as a kid. Like,
I did watch this as a kid.
And as a kid, you were like, I think Mushu really drags this movie down.
I don't remember. I don't remember liking Mushu that much. I never wanted a Mushu toy or anything.
I think that's fair.
I mean, like, there are animals that I think work because they're extensions of the hero. Like,
what's
Abu
an example of that? Okay.
To Aladdin is, Abu is Aladdin's,
most animal
greed,
form.
his avarice, I don't know. Like, I think for the most part, Jasmine's tiger, what was that tiger's name? Raja the tiger is, her feistiness, her fierceness and unwillingness to be caged, like, I feel like you can have these sidekicks that represent something about the character and that makes them resonate, not just that they, like, add some levity, right?
Okay, yeah.
I also just wanted to mention, because I thought it was funny, Mulan has a dog in the first scene. The dog's name is Little Brother.
What?
That's a weird name for a dog.
I don't think they ever say it.
They do. I just watched
Really?
it. Mulan is like, little brother, and then a dog comes out, and you're like, that's not a little brother.
Was this supposed to be like the Chinese word for little brother? But then they were like, no, we'll just call it.
Well, there's no dog named Little Brother in the original Mulan story.
Well, there's not
if that's
a
what
lot
you're
of
asking.
things in the original Mulan story. Like, it was a highly adapted.
Right. But what I'm saying is, I think that this dog is named Little Brother because Mulan knew that her dad always wanted a son.
Stop making
and
this
she
tragic.
wished for a little brother. Well, no, because I think it is a little tragic, but only tragic in the sense that, like, you know, this is why Mulan has such like a need to be like a hero, is because of the disappointment from her father, and that's her whole motivation in the story. I don't know. I think it's kind of neat.
Neat or, like, again, horribly tragic. But you know
Right.
what else is in Mulan?
What?
There's a horse, David.
There's a frickin' horse
There's a horse.
named Khan the horse. No, I'm sorry. There's no horse in Mulan.
It's a cow.
It's a cow. Dadoy.
Of course.
That's the old joke. It's a classic Disney joke, which is you call an animal a different animal, and it's funny. They did the same thing in Tangled, where they call Pascal the iguana a frog. They did the same thing in Frozen, where Olaf calls Sven a weird donkey, but then it turns out that he's actually talking about Kristoff, and it's a joke.
It is a joke.
The joke is that it's not a cow, it's a horse.
I might be a simple woman with simple tastes, but I find that...
People really like that joke. I think it's probably the funniest joke Eddie Murphy does in the movie, but I don't think it's that good.
I think it's that basic subversion thing where it's like, we all know it's a horse, so of course you're going to call it, like, a horse, but then you're like, no, it's this other animal that's similar. I don't know.
Dishonor on your cow. Dishonor.
Dishonor on everyone.
There's
Also,
a lot
like,
of honor
cows are
talking
funnier
Mulan.
animals, like, to say.
Cows are funny. Cows are funny. Horses
Same with
are
frogs.
only funny.
And donkeys. Those are all funnier than the original animal.
You're right. Those are funny animals. I take it all back. It's the best joke in any movie.
Bar none.
But yeah, the only other thing that Mushu does of substance in the movie, besides lighting things that need to be lit, is he and the cricket write a letter to get Mulan to the front.
Yeah.
And you could argue, like, that's a really important plot point.
That is.
Holy shit, they would never even get to the battlefield if not for him. Except that when they get there, you find out that they had already been, like, attacked by the Huns and were, like, decimated. So, of course, they would have sent a letter to get more soldiers to the front. Like, he's totally unnecessary for that plot point.
Well, but if everyone was dead, like, they might have called no one, and the Huns might have just gotten to the Imperial City before anyone could get there.
Okay, but my question is, what's more believable?
I think my scenario.
Is it more believable that a dragon writes a letter, or that somebody in need of military assistance writes a letter?
No, I 100% buy it that a dragon wrote it.
Actually, I think a cricket wrote it.
Oh, that is true.
It was composed by a cricket and sort of edited by a dragon. And he makes a joke about, like, tea and crumpets. The other thing with Mushu, for me, is I don't understand what happened to the Great Stone Dragon that he was supposed to summon.
I think he just breaks it.
So is he dead? Did he murder this dragon in cold blood to take his place, to supplant him as the patriarch of the family?
That's a good question. Well, okay, like, some part of me is like, is the Great Stone Dragon, like, real?
But that's the thing, is like, okay, so you're constructing a world in which the ghosts are real.
All right.
The messenger dragon meant to contact the spiritual defenders are real. But the actual spiritual overseers are made up. This is a weird universe you're building.
That's very true.
So like what I have to think is just like it's supposed to be like the dragon is simply not inhabiting this statue because he knows that it's Mushu's time to shine. But that's weird too to me.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't help at all.
That's true. I would say that's maybe the biggest plot hole in all of Mulan.
I don't know. I think there might be other plot holes.
No, but I think that's the biggest one. Is what's the deal with the Great Stone Dragon?
Yeah.
The world wants to know. The world is demanding answers, Disney.
My point is just that Mulan is a great movie, and I think Mushu is the weakest part of that movie. Maybe not...
Really not Cricky?
But Cricky
doesn't... Because if I was
doesn't...
going to eliminate
Cricky...
a semi-useless, like, side character, I think I would pick Cricky first.
Well, Cricky is made useless by Mushu more than anything. I mean, like, he could have been a helpful companion like Pascal in Tangled, who doesn't talk and interrupt dramatic moments.
But, like, Mushu is fake Jiminy Cricket. We don't need an actual cricket to, like, drive that home more. Like, I don't know.
Good point. Maybe we should just combine them and make Mushu a Mushu cricket hybrid. That's.
But I like his unhelpfulness. Like that's the thing is I like the conflict that Mushu adds to the story.
Maybe I just wish that Mushu sort of represented something in Mulan that she could either face and defeat or accept about herself. You know, like her self-doubt or something.
I don't know. I feel like they sort of do that at the end where his whole thing is like, you're right, I lied to you, and, like, I couldn't be honest. Like, I'm not the family guardian. I'm just, like, a messenger. Like, I'm just as fake as you are. But, like, look, we both achieved some pretty cool stuff. And then they continue to go achieve some pretty cool stuff. And then, like, they're both heroes when they go home. I don't know. I think they have similar storylines that parallel each other.
Yeah, I would say all that's pretty much true. Let's move on to talking about.
Do we want to talk about another horse movie? So here, real quick, here are the 7 Disney movies that have horses, and
the 7 deadly horses.
The 7 Disney horses. So we got the horse in Sleeping Beauty. Who? What did we say his name was? Samson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We got the horse Felipe in Beauty and the Beast.
I think it's just Philippe. You know, it's French. It's not Spanish. No, I made the same mistake. It's Philippe. And Philippe is great. I like Philippe. He's just like a noble companion, and he's the smartest horse. Like, he just knows how to get back to town and, like, warn people, and, like, he does most of his traveling on his own. He's a very independent horse.
Yeah, he knows what's up.
Right.
Then there's there's 2 horses, actually, in Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yep.
Or Notre Dame.
Whatever.
We're going to continue to be French about
Achilles and
it.
Snowball.
Yeah.
Achilles has a butt and he sits on the villains' heads, and that's the joke.
Yeah.
Then Hercules has a horse, which is Pegasus, but is also a bird.
Bird horse.
Yeah, I think that's like literally in mythology how Pegasus happens, right? Like they cut off the wings of a bird and just kind of staple them to a horse.
Oh my God, I don't know, but wow. I would not put it past the Greeks to do that. But anyway, then there's the horse in Milan, which we talked about.
Khan. Khan helps the story by shielding Mulan's naked body from the male gaze.
Yes. Thank you, Khan.
That's what he does.
He's also a fast, pretty good horse.
Yeah, no, also transportation and fighting and all the good stuff.
He's noble. Noble steed. And then there's the horse from Tangled, Maximus,
whom I love, because he starts out as like an antagonist.
Yeah.
But like an antagonist against Flynn Rider or Eugene, who is a bad guy in the beginning. So he's a police horse who is more adept at policing than the police. That's beautiful.
That's a good Disney joke. Then finally, we're in this podcast counting Sven the reindeer as a horse.
Because he's still transportation and he's very horse-like.
Exactly. He serves all of the purposes that these other horses do.
Sven the reindeer.
Yeah.
And I think Sven is also interesting in the particular way that they personify him.
Okay.
Which is by having Kristoff literally speak for him.
Yes.
In like a silly voice.
Right.
Like that to me, I liked that a lot. And I thought that, you know, like they probably won't do it again. But I think that that's interesting because it really shows how
like not in Frozen
we're
2.
putting the humanity into these animals. They're not really as human as like Disney is making them out to be. They're an extension of the people
It's
who
a
are
little
around them.
self-aware.
Yeah. Maybe it's too self-aware. I just like things that are way too self-aware.
No, I mean, I'll agree. I like it because I think it also points to some character traits for Kristoff, where it's like, this is his only friend, is this reindeer.
Yeah, that's my point. Maybe I don't like sidekicks at all as their own characters. I just like what they do for the main characters. And that's what a sidekick is for.
All right, so I know I have some thoughts about this, but I'm so interested to see what your thoughts are on the Hunchback of Notre Dame gargoyles.
I have some thoughts. I have some defenses.
Also, God, there's like a lot of sidekicks in the Hunchback.
Oh, yeah, but one of them is actually in the book, so I can forgive it.
Which one?
Jolly the Goat is actually in the original book by...
Victor Hugo.
Yeah, Victor Hugo. And speaking of Victor Hugo, the names of the two male gargoyles are Victor
and Hugo.
Ha,
ha, ha.
And then the woman's name is Laverne. I think she was named after the wife of one of the animators.
Sure.
But she's great.
She is.
People don't talk about her because they just talk about Jason Alexander, you know, who's very annoying.
But is he?
And very unfunny.
Really? I found him funny and not annoying, personally. Am I a bad person? Do I lose, like, all credit?
Okay. I think it's, you know, humor is obviously subjective. So, like, taking out the humor aspect of it, I do think that the gargoyles serve more of a function than, you know, Eddie Murphy, you know? Like,
really?
Because if you're writing a scene and you're writing a scene of the Hunchback, Quasimodo, in his tower... You can't just have him, like, talking to himself. And it makes sense that he would create some kind of imaginary friend. I mean, like, you know...
Whether or not they're totally imaginary or not is sort of ambiguous.
So that's the issue, right? I mean, like, that you can't defend that. Like, they shouldn't have had the gargoyles pouring hot tar on soldiers and throwing catapults off of cliffs.
Or they could have, but they needed to, like, let... us know that they were kind of real, like in the background or something.
But I don't think that they were. I think that the intention was for them to be imaginary because I mean, think about it. Like they represent so much of what, you know, they say whatever Quasimodo needs to hear at a particular moment. They're either reassuring, or, you know, they invigorate him, or they defend his decisions, or support him in whatever he's doing. And tell him that everything's going to be okay. You know, they're a coping mechanism. And I think that comes across. And the problem is just obviously with the fourth wall, and they just shatter it because they're like, all right, the gargoyles, here they go. They're just going to fight in this war and kill people.
I guess that's so true. But, like, that to me is like, I don't know. Yes, you need to give Quasimodo someone to talk to, but, like... Again, like, it didn't need
I mean, I think that they work because they're not just somebody to talk to, they're his ego, superego, and id. I mean, obviously Jason Alexander is very much id. He is pure, you know, gluttony and...
No, that's ego.
No, id is glutton.
No, it's like... the thinky.
No, id is your animalistic side.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Super ego is your thinky, more, you know, this is what we must do. This is what we should do. And then Laverne is the ego. It's who, it's who Quasimodo is and wants to be and how he defines himself. And it's interesting that is, a feminine, and, there are feminine qualities to Quasimodo. And I think it's interesting to see him reflected across 3 different characters. So I'll defend the gargoyles, but they are probably the worst part of that movie. Let's talk about Hercules.
Sure, let's talk about the sidekicks of Hercules.
So you got Danny DeVito in this one as a horrifying, sexist little troll man.
So his character on It's Always Sunny.
Okay, yeah, pretty much. I feel like Philatides, is that his name, Philatides?
I don't know, it's Phil.
He's, Phil, he would probably go around banging some whores and,
yeah.
and go hanging out in the sewer.
Yeah.
Looking for gold coins.
Swooping for the 3rd round.
Yeah, the scraps.
Yeah.
Scraps for Frankie. Everybody should watch It's Always Sunny. It's a great show. But yeah, Phil is a womanizing.
I still kind of like him,
demanding.
though. Like, I know he's a bad person, and like
I think he is a bad person, but he's a likable bad person, much like Frank. I think he's got goals, he's got aspirations. He wants to be the big man. He wants someone to look up and say, "Hey, that's Phil's boy."
Yeah, exactly. It's like he's got dreams. He's a washed up like old coach. He's the coach from Rocky, right? Am I wrong?
Right. Yeah. They do really try to do the Rocky thing in Hercules. And then Pegasus, I think, is fine. He's just kind of goofy and, an extension of the immaturity of Hercules.
He's got some attitude. He can, bro down.
Turn into a helicopter for some reason.
When does he turn into a helicopter?
There's just, a scene where Phil rides in on Pegasus to, interrupt his date, to interrupt Hercules' date. And he's instead of flying like a Pegasus, he's spinning his wings in tails from Sonic and in a way that could not be physically possible. He's a helicopter. And they do a siren joke, it's the police helicopters.
Right.
That's the joke.
And then there's Pain and Panic, who are the villain sidekicks.
Yeah, I think maybe now would be the time to talk about villain sidekicks, because I love villain sidekicks.
Do you think you tend to like villain sidekicks more than hero sidekicks?
In a way, yes, because villain sidekicks, they are a way to sort of keep the villains from being too scary for kids. They're a way to sort of make the villains funny and interesting by giving them someone to talk to. A villain needs somebody to talk to because they don't have friends. They just have minions.
Underlings, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, you've got Pain and Panic are these bumbling assholes that are under Hades. One of the funniest Disney villains, I would say, is Hades. And he works because he gets to get really mad at somebody. Yeah. It's funny when he gets mad.
It is.
And so you need somebody for him to get mad at.
Yeah.
You've also got Iago from Aladdin, voiced by Gilbert Gottfried, who, Gilbert Gottfried, say what you will about him, he's a national treasure.
It's so bad because the 2 things that I now think of when I hear his name are either Iago the Parrot or the dramatic reading that
The 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, the 50 Shades of Grey, where he just shouts, "My clitoris!" So you're welcome for that, podcast listeners.
Yeah. What other villain sidekicks do we have? You've got from The Princess and the Frog, Dr. Facilier's shadow, who is personified. That works for me. You got Percy the dog from Pocahontas I mentioned earlier, who is also a representation of all white people because they use the fight between a dog and a raccoon to represent the fight between Native Americans and white people.
And colonialists, yeah.
That's a little awkward to me. I don't know about that one. That one's a little rough. Pocahontas is a little rough. Yeah. But yeah, I love villain sidekicks. There's the villainous bird sidekicks are great. We already mentioned all those.
Evil Cat and Cinderella.
Black Cauldron, which is kind of like an outlier. There's like this creepy little goblin man who serves the Horned King.
There's also a creepy little goblin man who's a good guy.
Yeah, but he dies, so that's fine.
Noble sacrifice.
Gurgi is one of the weirdest Disney characters of all time, I would say.
But also, it's interesting because usually Disney does not kill off, like, good guys, like even sidekicks.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, Don Bluth does it all the time. So that's why Black Cauldron, which was directed by Don Bluth, is this weird outlier in the Disney
canon
universe. But there was one other sidekick who gets the axe, which is probably the most fragile Disney sidekick, Ray the Firefly.
Okay.
You know? Like, he kind of was just asking to get killed, wasn't he? Because he dove into an action scene, and he's a literal bug. Very easy to step on or, hit with a fly swatter. But he gets redeemed because when he dies, he becomes a star, and he was in love with a star, the North Star, who he calls Evangeline, and then they get to be together, so it's heartwarming.
Oh, so sweet.
The Princess and the Frog is, like, everything kind of feels a little paint by numbers in that one, because they were kind of just trying to see if they could reboot
classic
the Disney Princess brand.
Right.
So, you got an alligator named Louis who can play the trumpet, and a firefly named Ray who is a hillbilly. Or not a hillbilly, he's a bayou, what do you call those?
Bayou Billy.
A bayou Billy.
I don't know if that's the proper term at all.
Yeah, so, both of them are kind of useless and kind of annoying, but they're also kind of charming in their own way.
Yeah. Other great villains, Flotsam and Jetsam.
Oh, I completely forgot about Flotsam and Jetsam. Oh my god. Yeah, we should probably talk about Little Mermaid.
Little Mermaid.
A lot. Little Mermaid is the first movie that is considered part of the so-called Disney Renaissance, which reinvigorated the
Disney brand.
The Disney brand for sure, by sort of reintroducing princesses and fairy tales, which people like those.
Yeah.
I like those.
Who doesn't like those? Those are pretty good.
Yeah. So Little Mermaid has Flounder is like the best friend, but he's also like this nervous Nelly kind of like, that sounds dangerous. He reminds me of Piglet from Winnie and the Pooh.
Yeah, a little bit for sure. Like, he's very much like the young... He's got youthful energy.
And then Sebastian is the Jiminy Cricket.
Yeah.
Who is always there to be like, Ariel, you don't do that. It's bad.
Very beautiful
your father.
accent there.
It's not great. I take it back.
I take
renounce
back the whole accent.
Yeah. And then you have Scuttle, who is a bird. He's a good bird, though.
He's a bird from Jersey.
Bird. Was he from Jersey?
Not Jersey, but he had like that sort of New York.
He had like an affectation. I don't know what his deal is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very East Coast.
Yeah. Very East Coast for, the middle of an ocean.
For a Danish bird.
But yeah, Scuttle is there kind of to be like, oh, this is why Ariel doesn't know anything about humans, because Scuttle's given her bad intel.
I would say this: if I had to pick one character to cut from The Little Mermaid, it would probably be Scuttle.
Everyone would.
Like, okay, I find Scuttle 1,000 times more useless.
I would probably cut Flounder too.
Meh, Flounder, sure, I guess. He's harmless and doesn't really intrude on the plot,
Right. Scuttle plays the most important role in the plot, Hannah. I don't think you can cut him. He goes and he sees that Ursula is Ursula.
Yeah, because they definitely...
And that's why Ariel goes to stop the wedding.
They definitely couldn't have seen another character to do that.
Yeah. Flotsam and Jetsam are great. They die.
They do.
And they were her babies.
They were. Well, not her literal babies.
But, she calls them her babies. She's like, my babies! And I'm like, that was more tragic than anything else that happens in this movie. I really felt for Ursula in that moment. And then, Prince Eric has a sidekick. He has a dog named Max, who people think is very cute and fluffy.
I agree. A cute, fluffy pup. It's a good pup.
The villain in Beauty and the Beast doesn't have an animal sidekick, but he has LeFou, who is pretty much like inhuman.
Basically an animal.
He's not really a human being.
Here's the thing. With Beauty and the Beast, I feel like half of the cast is furniture. So, like, it's really hard to add in, like, additional, like, animal or, like, otherwise.
Very much so. That we did debate sort of whether you can count Lumiere and Cogsworth as animal sidekicks. They're non-human. They're not really main characters per se.
Yeah, I would count them more as like side cast.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Not sidekicks, because like there's not like one. Like if I had to pick one to be a sidekick, it would maybe be Chip. Because like
Chip goes with Belle back to the town for like no reason, and then does some like slapsticky stuff.
Right, and runs the whole crazy machine to freedom.
There's so much slapstick in these movies that just happens in the background of really dramatic scenes.
Yeah. Ugh. Which is sometimes great.
It can be, yeah.
Sometimes not so much, but sometimes it's great.
Yeah. Like Olaf, I think, does that a lot. He'll, like, in the middle of, like, a dramatic scene, like, trip over himself and his head will fall off. And like, oh.
Do we want to talk about Olaf a little bit?
I like Olaf. I think he was underutilized. Or overutilized. He was both under and overutilized.
I think that's fair.
Misutilized.
I think the love for him is shockingly overstated, question mark.
Well, I never go by that. I never go by like, oh, do people love this character too much? Because let them love their things.
For sure. Well, I'll say this. Like, people are allowed to love whatever they want.
Yeah.
I think the Disney Frozen brand has been leaning on Olaf too much. Like,
oh, okay. This is very right. This is a totally different point, but I agree with it. Yes.
Yeah, in the same way that like people loved the Minions, who I can't stand.
Olaf is now a minion and has been ruined. Oh no.
Sorry. But like. Yeah, I never liked the Minions, but I got it. Other people like them. I don't know, does Disney make a lot of sidekick movies? Because now that I'm thinking about it, they made Disney 1.5, which is just a sidekick movie. Not Disney, Lion King 1.5.
Okay, but that one's different. Don't talk shit about Lion King 1.5 because...
I will not. I love it.
Because Lion King 1.5 is actually an adaptation of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead.
I know.
That's amazing.
I know.
For those of you who don't know, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead is a play that was written, it's almost sort of like a parody of Hamlet, but the idea is you follow the characters of these funny sidekick characters because they die off screen, and you just sort of follow them in the background of Hamlet. Who wrote Rosencrantz and Guildenstern?
Ooh, good question. I should for sure know this. I've seen this play a lot of times.
Tom Stoppard. Yeah. So, like, this was a time where people were starting to sort of experiment with the form, and I think Lion King 1.5 was an experiment with the form.
Yeah.
It wasn't very good, but for a Disney sequel, I mean, it's pretty harmless.
Here's the thing. I will say, in general, and this might just be my love for The Lion King in general, but I think as far as Disney sequels go, The Lion King is pretty solid.
Right.
Like,
and I guess, the reason that one works is that, like, the dynamic between Timon and Pumbaa is very well established.
Oh, for sure.
They are a good pair, and they have their own chemistry outside of Simba. And they had a TV show.
Yeah.
And so it only makes sense that they get a movie.
Right. Well, not necessarily.
It only makes sense that they get a direct-to-video movie that was made for like $30.
Right. Yeah, the Disney TV shows were not great.
Some of them were okay.
All right. Well, okay. So I think we should definitely talk about Moana a little bit.
Yes, let's talk about Moana. I love Moana. Everybody loves Moana.
It's a good movie. It's got some. Yeah. It's some good.
It's got Lin-Manuel.
Who doesn't love Lin-Manuel?
It's got The Rock.
Also a great actor, dude.
It's got probably one of the least problematic plots and characters of a Disney movie about people of non-white race.
Color. Yeah.
Probably the least problematic, but, you know, still obviously has its issues. But yeah, that has some sidekicks. Let's talk about it.
Also has, I'm just going to say, like, maybe one sidekick too many?
Or two. One or two too many. It doesn't have, like, as many as Aladdin, but, like, the ones that they have kind of break the movie. So...
Well, okay, I think this is where I would agree with you most, where there are these sidekicks that, like, are there for comic relief, but, like,
they
don't really add a lot.
And they hurt the logic. Like, okay, so there's two that I think are good, which are Maui's tattoos, which are personified. Maui's tattoos, I think, are good because they represent, you know, his conscience. They're his Jiminy Cricket.
Right. And then I wish there was more of them, is my only complaint with them.
That makes sense. And then Hey Hey, I think, is fine because he sort of represents the hidden potential in Moana. There's a lot of talk in that movie about, like, Hey Hey, you know, he's got more than meets the eye. He's not just a dumb rooster. And he's pretty funny in his interactions with the characters. So, you know, Maui, like, is, you know, treats him like he's food, and Moana treats him like he's a, you know, like a mentally deficient stepchild.
Chicken, which he is.
Yes. And then, you know, Pua, the pig, is written out of the whole movie. Does not need to
be in the movie.
It's just written out of the movie.
I don't understand.
Because he's a good toy.
But, like... Why? Like, don't have the pig be the thing that you lose on the... Like, don't set this pig up as, like, your dog best friend, and then,
abandon him. Especially since you probably are going to eat him later, after the movie's over.
Right.
I can only imagine.
Like, yeah.
It's not like they don't eat pork and chicken in this world. I don't understand why they would choose the food to be sidekicks.
I know. Why not a bird?
Yeah, everybody loves birds. I love birds.
Sure.
You love birds.
All birds don't have to be evil. You know this.
Yeah.
You made Scuttle, even though he's the worst.
Yeah. Make a good bird sidekick that can fly ahead and warn Moana about danger.
Yeah.
Don't make it
scout
a chicken.
for islands. But I'm like I don't know. I feel like a bird would have been a great thing. But Maui turns into a bird. Blah blah.
Well, you know the apparently early in development, Hey Hey was going to be like a brave rooster who was very defensive of Moana.
See, okay, I have to disagree with you completely on Hey Hey.
Okay.
Like, I hate him. I think he's the worst part of this whole movie. I hate him. He's maybe my least favorite.
Okay.
I think, yeah.
All right.
Hey Hey is
voiced
by
Alan
Tudyk.
Comedic
voice.
Chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else do you hate about him? Lay it on me. I don't have too many defenses for Hey Hey. I just kind of find him a little bit funnier than, like, Miko the raccoon.
Sure. No, I would say, but Miko has more of a personality than Hey Hey. Like, Hey Hey's personality is just that he's dumb.
All right, good point.
And like, okay, great. Now what?
Yeah, I guess, he's like the least personified of the animals. He just kind of does
exactly.
things.
Like I would have liked Pua better as the, like, main sidekick. Like, I just don't understand why Hey Hey, like, needed to be around, like, so he could eat the stone a couple of times in that weird coconut scene. Like, I don't know.
Somebody storyboarded the scene where Hey Hey eats the gem and then they chase after the heart, and somebody thought that was really good. So,
but, like, why not have that as just, like, a random chicken does that before she leaves the island or on another island, or, like, literally, like, I don't understand why Hey Hey needed to be, like, her sidekick pal.
So then so if we're fixing Moana, which, like, we're not, but let's pretend, we'll get rid of Hey Hey and replace him with Pua, or something else. maybe Pua is the runt of the litter, so they can't eat him. So they're like, we don't eat the runt because there's not enough food. It's like, but Pua could be useful for something else.
Yeah, like he's not even worth eating.
I would definitely babeify him.
Right, like give him sort of a babe kind of arc, you know? Like, and I'd buy a Pua thing in an instant because he is adorable. He does have this amazing, like, cute character design.
For sure. Yeah, and then the other one that I would cut is the ocean.
See, I love the ocean, so let's argue about this.
Let's talk about the ocean. All right, for me, the ocean is kind of like if instead of having Pegasus as Hercules' sidekick, he had Zeus. Because the ocean is way too powerful for its own good.
Too OP.
Yeah, like, the ocean is an asshole in this movie. He doesn't do anything. Comparably, like, imagine, I'm the ocean, all right? Everyone's made the joke that the ocean could have just taken the heart and put it into Fidi, and the movie would just be over immediately. Everyone's made that joke.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, maybe he didn't do that because, Moana had to learn something about herself or whatever. But the ocean could have brought a storm and rained on Taka. That would have been good. Or splashed him, maybe?
Yeah.
Or, maybe, like, I don't know, just sort of guided them in the right direction. I don't know. Like, there's a million things that the ocean could have done if it's going to go so far as to, like, literally take a dart and put it in Maui or rescue Moana from being stranded on an island. Like, if you're doing that much, do more. The ocean just shouldn't be something that you can high five.
I did sort of like it, but like I see where from like a plot structure, the ocean doesn't really work as a side.
That's my big issue. I'm a big plot structure guy, and I usually don't care too much about like, but it's cute, it's fun, and it's spiritual, and it's great. Like, I think the ocean could be there and kind of help a little bit. Like, I love the scene with the parting of the waters. But maybe it's like something that only happens at big momentous plot points instead of for slapstick reasons. That's a little iffy for me.
Well, how do you feel about like when Maui keeps like throwing her off the boat and the ocean keeps putting her back?
Like that's to me, that's like, okay, well then the ocean should just be able to whisk them away to the island like immediately and solve the whole plot of this movie. Like, why does she even need a boat? Just ride the ocean. Why does she even need to learn to sail if the ocean is her friend who really needs her to get to this point? And it's like, because she's got to learn to sail. Well,
because then she's got to teach everybody else how to sail.
Yeah, but I don't know. I thought, like, doesn't her dad already know how to sail? And, like, can't he teach
Kind
everybody?
of, but not well. Like.
Yeah, right. Maybe the ocean did. Yeah, this is the other thing. Oh, this is my biggest problem. The whole reason that they don't go outside of the reef is because the ocean is keeping them from going outside of the reef.
Right.
So it's this weird thing where they're being stopped from progressing by the ocean, where they probably, like if the ocean wasn't so turbulent, maybe like just her dad could have just gone and like found the heart out in the ocean and like delivered it to the island and, done all this stuff before Moana's even born. And the only reason he didn't is because his brother died, or I think it was his brother, died from the ocean drowning. Just literally straight up murdering him. Like, the ocean is an asshole.
Right. Like, I think the problem with it becomes, like, if the ocean is personified, how personified? When is it personified?
If it's personified enough to give you a high five, that's too much. It's too much for me. If it can give you a high five, it can do anything a human can.
We talked about this a little bit, or like I mentioned it, that I wish Maui's tattoos were a little bit more present.
I think there were some good bits with it, though. Like, the idea of, like, flicking the tattoo, you're sleeping in my armpit, I love that stuff. It's cute.
No, I absolutely 100% agree with that. I just think that, like, I think if we remove Hey Hey and Pua's going on, like, his own Moana-esque journey.
We can do a whole episode where we just fix Moana, by the way. Because I have a million more thoughts on how to fix Moana, and it's only because I love it so much.
It's a good movie.
It's really one of my favorite. It's my favorite CG, computer generated Disney movie. And it's one of my favorite Disney movies, I would say. It's just charming, and the characters are likable, and the music is Lin-Manuel, and it's just great.
Do we want to talk at all about Tangled or like Treasure Planet?
I have a tidbit about
Tangled. All right, let's touch on Tangled. Tidbit. Yeah.
So Pascal is nonsensical. Like, why is he there?
All right, so we'll throw him in the useless pile.
People like Pascal. He's useless. He doesn't do anything. He's no different than Flit from Pocahontas or, any of these other like, oh, I'm very protective of my princess. He's exactly the same. Also, why is he named Pascal? I will tell you. He's named Pascal because one of the writers or animators had a pet iguana named Pascal, and they put him in the movie.
Cool.
Like, doesn't that, I don't know, is that cool, or is that kind of hits me the wrong way? I'm like, as a writer...
No, I'm saying cool,
okay.
very ironic.
Okay, I thought you were like, cool.
Like, great, what a dumb... I mean, like, I don't know, as someone who likes to create things, I totally get the impulse to put things you love.
And it's interesting that they love... Like, the audience seemed to love it, too. The intended audience.
Right.
I mean, children.
Yeah.
But, like, me as a grown-up who loves to watch Disney films and overanalyze them, why aren't they looking out for me?
Yeah. Why aren't they servicing my needs?
But, like, I think that the best Disney sidekicks are the ones that feel not forced in there. They feel natural. They feel like they were just going to be there regardless of whether this was a Disney movie or a live action movie. They were just there.
All right, do we have any takeaways?
Yeah, I think...
For, like...
Takeaways, I think the takeaway is a sidekick should be... It should feel natural. You shouldn't have to...
They should have a purpose.
They should have a purpose both in plot and in character, Like, they should flesh out a character. They aren't, they don't have to be perfect characters on their own, but they need to be foils or, representations of something.
And they need to add to the character's journey. And, like, if they do or not can be up for debate, a la Mushu.
Right. Yeah, I think Mushu is definitely up for debate, which is why I thought it was a good centerpiece for this discussion.
Yeah. I'm glad that we talked about it.
Yeah. And just, we like them. We buy toys of them. They're marketable, but you don't need to treat them like marketing gimmicks, like Olaf.
Yeah, like stop making... I think everyone has pretty much panned the Olaf movie that came out, right?
I don't know. I have some friends who are like, it's probably the best Olaf has been, but it's like, he's still Olaf.
Right.
Yeah, my thing with Olaf, I don't know, I didn't get a chance to say this, but I think Olaf probably would have been better as a sidekick for Elsa instead of Anna, because that would be more contrast.
Yeah.
Be a better foil, Like, Olaf could kind of be a representation of the childhood innocence of when Elsa and Anna were best friends, which would serve Elsa well as she's trying to isolate herself and be lonely, and then she just keeps getting bugged by this snowman. I don't know. Like, that to me, I think would work a lot better than having Anna as his foil, where, like, they're pretty much the same. They're just very optimistic and innocent.
I haven't seen Coco yet, but is there a sidekick in that?
There's a dog named, I think his name is also Diablo, but he's not an evil bird.
Okay.
But, yeah, I haven't seen it yet either. I've heard it's, like, one of the best Pixar movies yet. Like, people are raving about Coco. I'm definitely going to have to see it. But yeah, like, there's sidekicks in Pixar movies too. But we've been talking about Disney animation. Maybe we should have opened with that, but I don't know. If there is any that we missed that you wish that we talked about, we didn't talk about Tinkerbell. We didn't talk about Timothy Q. Mouse from Dumbo. His name is Timothy Q. Mouse.
Well, also, again, like, Dumbo, it's mostly animals, right?
Like, that's true.
I guess we did talk about The Lion King.
We didn't talk about Jungle Book because those are all pretty much just main characters.
Yeah. Didn't talk about Morph from Treasure Planet.
Yeah, for all of you Treasure Planet fans that are like, why aren't they talking about Ben, the robot
Ben.
voiced by Martin Short? Calm down. No one talks about Treasure Planet.
If you want to talk to us about Treasure Planet, you can for sure tweet at us at Talking Tropes.
Yeah, maybe we should do a call-in show specifically for Treasure Planet fans.
Yeah. No, for sure. Tweet at us if you have opinions at Talking Tropes.
Yeah, do it.
We want to hear back from you. If there's any tropes that you want us to talk about, you can message us there. If we choose your topic, we'll give you a shout out.
Yeah, and let us know what your favorite sidekick is in Disney lore.
For sure.
Because I like Turk, she likes Mushu. And both of us,
we're still friends.
And we're still friends. Yeah, we can still be friends, even if you do. Even if you do like, who's my least favorite? Even if you do like Miko, the raccoon, I love you anyway.
We can bridge that gap.
We can absolutely bridge that gap. All right.
That's the Disney message.
All right. Talk to you later. This has been Talking Tropes.
Bye.
Bye.